The last time you booked a hotel, you probably used Booking.com or Expedia. The hotel got your money. The website got a cut. Simple, right? Except that cut built a company worth more than any airline on Earth. Booking Holdings is worth more than Delta, United, and American combined. These sites don't really sell you travel. They sell something far more valuable. Let me show you how the money actually moves. Two companies dominate online travel. Booking Holdings, that's Booking.com, Priceline, Agoda, Kayak, and OpenTable. And Expedia Group, Expedia, Hotels.com, and Vrbo. Together, they handle over $300 billion in travel bookings every year. Booking alone moved $186 billion last year. Expedia, $120. But here's the first strange thing. They don't own the hotels. They don't own the planes. They own almost nothing you actually use on your trip. So how does a company that owns no rooms make more profit than the chains that own thousands of them? But to understand how they got this powerful, you have to go back to a company that almost died. In the late 1990s, an American startup called Priceline let you name your own price for flights and hotels. For a moment, it was a dot-com darling. Then the bubble burst, and Priceline's stock collapsed by more than 90%, from nearly $1,000 a share to under $10. It barely survived, but in 2005, it made the quiet bet that would change everything. It paid around $133 million for a small Dutch website called Booking.com. At the time, it barely made the news. That little Dutch site went on to become the most profitable engine in all of travel. So dominant that in 2018, the parent company renamed itself after it. From the Priceline Group to Booking Holdings. A $130 million purchase now drives the majority of a company worth well over $100 billion. That is the trade that built the giant. Online travel agencies make money in two main ways. The agency model. You book a room, you pay the hotel directly. Then the platform sends the hotel an invoice for commission, typically between 15 and 18% on the standard tier, climbing past 20 on the preferred programs that buy you a higher spot in the list. On a $200 room, that's $30 to $50, just for the click that sent you there. The merchant model. Here, the platform collects your payment up front. It pays the hotel a lower, pre-negotiated net rate and keeps the difference. To you, the price looks the same, but the platform is now sitting on your cash and a hidden margin. Then there's a third, quieter layer. Meta-search. Sites like Kayak or Trivago don't book anything. They just compare prices and sell the click, the lead, to whoever bids highest. So just how big is the cut? Across a single year, Booking Holdings turns roughly $186 billion in travel into about $27 billion of its own revenue, close to 14 cents on every dollar booked. More than $5 billion of that is pure profit. And the scale behind it is staggering. Over 4 million places to stay listed on Booking.com alone, and more than 1.2 billion room nights booked in a single year. Remember, they own almost none of it. Every one of those rooms belongs to someone else. Booking just owns the place where you decide. Now, hotels hate paying these commissions. A 20% cut is enormous in a business with thin margins. So why don't they just tell customers to book direct? Many try, and most fail. Here's why. First, the Billboard effect. Cornell researchers found that just being listed on a big platform can lift a hotel's own direct bookings too. Travelers discover the hotel on Booking, then go and book on the hotel's own site. The effect is debated, and the exact size varies by study. But the direction is consistent. Leaving the platform doesn't just cost you their bookings, it can cost you direct ones as well. Second, and this is the real engine, these platforms own the top of Google. Booking Holdings is consistently one of the largest advertisers in the world. Last year, it spent over $8 billion on marketing. Its single biggest expense by far. When you search hotels in Lisbon, the platform has already bought that moment. A single independent hotel cannot outbid a company spending billions. So the platform isn't really being paid for the room. It's being paid for owning the demand, the search result, the comparison, the moment of decision. By now, the big hotel chains had seen exactly what was happening, and they tried to fight back. In 2015, Marriott told travelers, point blank, it pays to book direct. A year later, Hilton went bigger. with the largest marketing campaign in its history. Stop clicking around, offering a members-only discount you could only get by booking on Hilton.com instead of through an agency. The logic was simple. Cut out the middleman, save a little, and the hotel keeps the commission. So did it work? Partly. The chains poured roughly $100 million into these campaigns. They signed up tens of millions of loyalty members and pushed more guests to book direct. But here's the punchline. A decade later, the online travel agency's share of the market had barely moved. As recently as 2024, the agencies and the hotel's own direct channels were still running almost neck and neck, over $260 billion each. The chains won on loyalty and margin. They did not break the platforms. And the millions of small independent hotels, the ones with no famous brand and no loyalty app, never had a chance. They stayed exactly where they were, paying the commission with nowhere else to go. Once you see it this way, the profitability makes sense. The platform's main cost isn't buildings or staff, it's marketing to acquire you. Everything after that is close to pure margin. That's why Booking Holdings runs operating margins north of 30%, numbers that look less like a travel company and more like a software business. Their moat is three things stacked. Scale, more hotels means more travelers, and more travelers means more hotels. Data. They know what converts better than any single hotel ever could, and a marketing war chest no independent can match. Regulators have noticed. Across Europe, rate parity clauses, which stopped hotels from offering cheaper prices on their own sites, have been banned country by country, and then struck down across the whole EU. In 2024, the EU's top court ruled them illegal, and the Digital Markets Act now forces Booking to let hotels undercut it. It's a quiet sign of just how much power sits with the platform, not the hotel. But there is one player even the giants have to kneel to. Remember that Booking's single biggest cost is buying your attention on Google. That makes Google something extraordinary. Not a tool the agencies use, but a landlord they can never stop paying. The numbers are jaw-dropping. In a single 3-month stretch, Booking alone has handed Google more than $1 billion in advertising. And because Booking and Expedia are chasing the very same searches, hotels in Paris, cheap flights to Rome, they end up bidding against each other, driving the price up, while Google quietly pockets the difference. Then it gets worse. Google now runs its own travel search. Google Flights, Google Hotels, sitting at the very top of the results, competing with the same companies paying it billions. In late 2025, when Google revealed it was building artificial intelligence that books trips for you, shares of Booking and Expedia dropped on the spot. So follow the chain. The hotel pays the agency for owning the demand, and the agency pays Google for owning the demand for the demand. It's a tax on a tax, and it all rolls uphill to whoever owns the very top of the internet. So next time you book a trip, remember what you're actually looking at. The hotel sells you a room, but the website? It sold itself the most valuable spot in the entire transaction. The moment you decided. The lesson of online travel is bigger than travel. In almost every industry now, the real money isn't in owning the product, it's in owning the demand for it. If you found that useful, there's a whole logic to how money really works. And that's exactly what this channel is about.